Welcome, everyone. This is the first episode of our new webinar series, Enhancer Create. And the special thing about this webinar and what sets it apart from other series that might try to explain to you, let's say, some paid marketing concepts, is that we're going to be doing a follow-along in every single webinar. So we need to make sure that you know exactly how you can, for example, launch any type of campaign and launch it effectively. So in this new series, and you're in the first episode, we're going to be focusing more on Facebook remarketing campaigns for Shopify stores. So right now, we know that Black Friday is really approaching very soon, and everyone's trying to launch their remarketing campaigns or trying to optimize them. So today we're going to focus on all of the sites and widgets that we're going to be optimizing in order to make sure that our remarketing campaigns on Facebook or Instagram are all up to par. So my name is Ahmad Mhanna. I'm a digital marketing specialist here at Enhencer. And joining me today will be Tayib, which is our Chief Marketing Officer at Enhencer. He will be doing the follow along on this episode. And I'd like to remind you before we start that this webinar is going to be recorded and is going to be up on our YouTube and will also be up on our webinar page on the Enhencer website. And also, throughout this webinar, you might be finding a link on the chat where you can sign up and you can get a 30-minute free ad health checkup from our performance marketing team. If you feel like you're a bit unsure about your paid marketing right now, definitely sign up for the free link once it shows up. And well, we're all for supporting you. So sit tight and let's enjoy today's webinar.
So we all know Meta ads. Meta has more than 3 billion users worldwide. And so the thing that makes Meta ads unique is that its value proposition for SMEs is definitely unique in the sense that you have more selection over your audience type as compared to other, let's say, more popular ad softwares. And so Facebook ads revenue is gigantic. This year, it's projected to be roughly 135, or $136 billion. And a little segment that we will be focusing on later in the webinar is that, when we looked at the study, 50% of all of the people actually wanted to enjoy some story ads, and 58% of customers actually check the company websites after the story ads. So now we're going to just primarily start with remarketing. So this is a fact that people just don't like to buy things on their first visit to any e-commerce website. It's very hard to get someone on the very first visit. Out of 100%, like 69 or 70% of people actually abandon their carts when they're shopping online. And 3 out of 4 of all of the people actually check out like the retargeted ads. And retargeted ads specifically have a 400% higher conversion rate. But see, I'm just rambling on and on and on about something that you might not exactly know about. So what is remarketing and how do we set it up? We see that it's very helpful for our business, but what is it exactly? So this is the basic structure of what a remarketing campaign is. So remarketing campaigns basically tap into your website. And what they do is once you have new website visitors, these visitors visit your site and the website tracks their behavior on the site. So there they might analyze, for example, the number of pages that you've visited, the average time span that you've spending on every site or every page, and basically how much you're engaging with the site, how many buttons you're clicking, what you're adding to the products. So then when the prospect leaves your website, your marketing ads kick in. And what they're going to do is that they're going to be inviting this new website visitor to come back into your website to complete a purchase, or let's say to check out your products for one category or another. So for today, we're going to be focusing on DPA and conversion campaigns. DPA stands for Dynamic Product Advertising. And what they are is that they're ads that basically feed into your product category or product catalog. And so you might have a very simple background, and then you will be having your product front and center with the price and the headline, which is the product name in the sense. And what it does is it basically finds a way to automate your remarketing campaigns. And so basically, you're letting Facebook decide what to show which customer. So for example, if I've seen this yellow t-shirt and you saw the red one, at least the ones that are present on the screen, then I'm more likely to get the yellow shirt as an ad the next day. And so basically, I'm sure all of us have been there, that we check our Google and we find, for example, something that we saw the day before, and it's just highlighted in an ad. Well, that's usually what DPAs are. So you probably interacted with a lot more than you think. So other than the fact that it's all automated, so it's perfect for smaller teams, DPA also comes with a few more advantages. So because you're showing your potential customers the exact products that they were checking out, this means that you're getting faster data analytics that are actually cleaner than conversion campaigns. So with conversion campaigns, these are your traditional, let's say, paid advertisements. So you create certain ad creatives that can highlight different features about your product. DPA stands for Dynamic Product Advertising, Mark. But we will be having a question and answer session at the end. But you can also feel free to write the questions. Yeah. So for conversion campaigns, as I mentioned before, you will be mentioning different features and highlights about your product that can't be highlighted on a DPA. So for example, if you're selling a t-shirt, you can sell that it's 100% vegan, cruelty-free. If you're selling makeup, you can do the same thing. So when should I use DPA and when should I be using our conversion campaigns? So for example, if you don't have a large team and you have a lot of different products, then you should probably be using DPA because you want Facebook to decide what products to show who. But however, if you have a large team and you have the manpower to create like very beautiful custom ad creatives that are based on the website behavior and the demand, then conversion campaigns would be a better fit. So this also happens when you have, let's say, more limited number of products. And if you're trying to sell something that is more luxurious, so in that case, they want to know more about the quality of the product itself rather than seeing the product one time or another time. So we'll start with setting up our remarketing campaigns. And with the first settings, well, here, since we're all e-commerce businesses, our campaign objective should be sales. And what we want to do is we want to set our buying type to auction. And what that does is it makes sure that you have the best bang for the budget. So you're paying, let's say, the fair price for whatever ads you're setting out. So then what you need to do is you need to make sure that your manual sales campaigns is on. And so that you can create all of your campaigns from scratch and use the standard setup. After that, if you're an e-commerce, you need to make sure that there are no categories being selected. You don't want to filter out your audience with a category-based, let's say, because we know that they've visited the site before. And so basically, we know that they know what your brand is about. There's no need to filter it out by categories. And this will be mentioned again when we're doing the ad creatives, but when you're doing a DPA remarketing campaign, you want to be using the catalog setting. So you can either set it up here or you can wait and you can set it up in the ad creative phase. So moving on, here we have two different options, the A/B test and the advanced campaign budget. So A/B testing is something that we really like to do, but unfortunately it's very costly. So when you have the sufficient budget to do an A/B test, then you might want to test out your ideas and see what works that way. However, with the Advantage Campaign Budget Plus, then you're basically using this when you have too many ad creatives and you don't know which one to narrow down. So then what it will do is it will create an uneven budget optimization for what works and what doesn't work. And it can help you optimize your campaign slightly. But this is a step that we will be mentioning later on.
Hey
So
everyone,
Tayib.
thank you, Ahmad, for actually explaining these things. From this point onward, we will kind of go back and forth between me and Ahmad to make it more dynamic. And another thing is, I'm really sorry for the video thing because I'm having a very bad internet connection at the moment, so I need to turn off my video. So to continue the presentation, now we will talk about the best options for the ad sets. So since we are talking about Shopify and e-commerce, the conversion location should be website. If you happen to have an application as well, then it should be website and app, because this is where the conversions will actually take place. There is another important option we should keep the notice about is the performance goal. There are actually two options in the performance goal. The first one is maximize number of conversions. Second one is maximizing the conversion value. So if you have, let's say, some low price product and some high price product, and you want to keep selling the highest priced product and increase the revenue, that is when you actually use that conversion value option. But generally, we suggest using maximizing number of conversions. And for the pixels, make sure that you have chosen the right pixels here, because sometimes you might have more than one pixel. And for the conversion event, since we're all e-commerce here, so it should be always about purchase option. For the cost per results goal, when starting out with the remarketing campaigns, we generally don't suggest it. The reason is very hard to optimize the cost per result. Also, it should be done in a very long period of time. So in the long run, you might come to a grasp about the cost per result for your particular brand and your particular product. So it's a long run thing. So can you go to the next slide? Okay. What's the best option for my ad set? And when we talk about the budget, it actually depends on how much budget you have. There is nothing we can suggest. If we say that it's like, let's say $100, it might be too less, too much for your brand and your product. But there are some suggestions we will do in the monitoring phase that will kind of explain how to adjust the budget a little bit. And for the budget option, what we generally suggest is using the daily budget, not the lifetime budget. So lifetime budget is only for a short running test that you can do, let's say for 10 days, and you're putting like, let's say lifetime budget of $1,000 and just forget about it. But daily budget is much more efficient when you are doing the remarketing properly. Next.
So what audience settings should I consider when I'm setting up the remarketing campaigns? So there's two main filters that you want to go through. That those are they're very case to case. They depend a lot on the the product itself. So first you want to be setting up your location, and you want to be setting up your age and gender. Gender is like, of course, when it's appropriate. So basically, when you're setting up the location, you need to make sure that, for example, it's a location that you can actually cover, because you don't want to be having a lot of customers from basically places that you can't support. And for the age, of course, it's good to have a good range. However, make sure that you don't filter it out too much, because it could be problematic for you later on. You can end up having a target audience that is actually a bit off from what you think it will be. So then let's move on to the audience options that we have. And there's 4 different types. First one is all website visitors. So all website visitors means that people that have visited your website at all. They usually contain like 4% bounce. And so what the bounce means is that they could be people that are just incredibly uninterested in your product. They just visited the site one time and one page and just completely left, and they would be added to the all website visitors campaign. So next would be product viewers. If you visit any website and you check out any of the products that they have, then you're in that audience range. Then product viewers usually works for DPA campaigns. not necessarily with conversion campaigns, because it could be harder to, let's say, know exactly what they viewed and what the features could be, especially that attracted them, especially when it's like a wide range of products. So then there's the add to cart, and with add to cart, it's about them viewing the product and adding it to their cart, but not necessarily completing a purchase. So this audience type is usually very narrow. And what could happen is that Facebook or Meta could just never pass the learning phase, sorry. And finally, there's AI audiences. So quickly, I'm just going to go over the disadvantages and advantages. So with all website visitors, it's basically a trade-off of reach to intent. All website visitors have a lot of reach, but they're not necessarily people that have a lot of intent. So you might be wasting money on people that are just not interested in your product. And especially if you have a smaller budget, you could just not reach everyone. Like not reach all of the people in your in your campaign. So your frequency could be sub 1. For product viewers, what you'll have is that, as I've mentioned before, it's a DPA business and DPA product. And for example, the common business problems such as shipping and pricing, they too tend to affect product viewer campaigns a lot more. And the reason why is because they've viewed your product, but they've clicked off. They didn't add it to your cart for one reason or another. So this type of campaign could be a bit more sensitive, let's say. When we're moving on to add to cart, this only works realistically if you're a big corporation, if you have a large number of visitors, because as I mentioned before, Facebook will just not pass the learning phase. So what are AI audiences? So AI audiences are basically audiences that you find based on their website visitor behavior, but it's all automatic. So you don't need to worry about having a single variable or two variables. They usually include a lot of different properties on their website visitor, their website behavior that other types of campaigns just kind of never reach. And they're always updated in real time, and they end up giving you faster campaign insights. So the reason is because we know that these are people that are categorized into, let's say, certain bins or regions in your journey. That means that once you know what type of customers are buying what, it could be very easy for you to launch, let's say, your other campaign based on the insights from AI.
Okay. So to answer one of the questions in the chat about the placements, in this slide, I will actually be answering the same question. So when it comes to the placement, the only real question you have to ask yourself is where my audience spends their time. So if you say that my audiences never go to Facebook, they are always on Instagram, then you will just choose Instagram from the platform options. If you feel like, and if you know that my audiences never go to the Facebook Messenger, so you don't have to advertise there. So it's completely in your hands. You can choose where to place your ad and where not to place your ad in your devices as well. But we generally suggest leave the devices out of the, let's say, equation for the moment, and just consider the platforms your intended audience might use mostly. So in Facebook ads, there are 4 options: Facebook, Instagram, audience network, and messengers. What we generally suggest is go for the Instagram. If you're an e-commerce, if you're using fashion brand, go for, let's say, electronic in the Facebook and Instagram as well. So it changes on sector to sector. You should know about your own placement.
So what is the best ad creatives for the campaigns? So number 1, you need to make sure that you've linked up the correct Facebook and Instagram accounts. This is, of course, mostly applicable when you have more than one business. And secondly, and this is for conversion campaigns, you actually have the choice to skip the ad creative, like making the ad creative by finding an already existing post and just boosting it. So this is, of course, other than that, you can just make the new visual and just move on to the next step. Then as I mentioned before in step 1, if you're doing a DPA campaign and everything is dynamic and automatic, then you want to be mentioning the catalog option here. And if you're using the manual, then you would want to select single image or video if it's a single image or video. If it's more than one image, then it's a carousel. And collection would be like, we won't go into collection too much right now. So for multi-advertiser ads, this is definitely something that we recommend doing, because basically what it does is it's going to increase your ads exposure. And basically from that, it's going to be showing it alongside different businesses. So then here's the ad creative setup phase. And what you're going to do is, number 1, you're going to be selecting the media that you have and the appropriate placements that you choose for them. And then you could check out the Advantage Plus Creative site so you can see how optimized your campaigns are. And after that, you need to make sure that your texts are all correct. So what it means is that your primary text, or who the ad is going to show from, needs to be that. And then the headline, which needs to be usually something that's more attractive. And the description is definitely more important. You don't want to have too long of a description, because it could alienate people. People's attention spans are a lot shorter, especially when it's online. Lastly, because you're an e-commerce business, your call to action setting in the stage should be order now. Next, when we're setting up the destination, you want to provide the links to your product. And with the browser add-ons, you don't want to basically alienate your options. So none would be a smarter option here, because if your customers just click on call or WhatsApp and they find that it was out of your time zone, or you didn't respond on time, or you were doing something else, then it might leave a more negative experience on their site. So on your site, sorry. So because of that, we usually recommend that none is just a much safer option in this stage. Next, we want to make sure that all of the tracking options are enabled. And if you want to track the performance more specifically, you can add the URL UTM so that you can track it later on using GA4. So how many ad creatives should I have? This is a question that varies a lot. So if you're using a DPA campaign, the number of creatives that you have is actually the number of products. You don't need to go through making them one by one, because it's all automatic. It feeds into your, let's say, website. But if you're doing a conversion campaign, then you have to make, or any other campaign, you have to make sure that every single one of the ad creatives, you have to go through the entire step again and again and again, everything that we've gone through for ads. So this makes it so that it's a lot harder to optimize, and that's something that we'll be going into right now.
Okay, so before going into the monitoring section of the presentation, I want to answer the question Tanya asked in the chat. What is more effective, single image, video, or carousel? It's really hard to tell, to be honest. Like, it doesn't have a definitive answer. So what we generally suggest is, if you are an e-commerce, start with some pictures, start with some videos if you have, start with some carousels, and then see which one does best for your audience. So it's a media type that is, or like, it is going to resonate with your audiences or not. So if you have a very young audience, let's say 18, 20 years old, let's say they spend a lot of time in the Reels section of the Instagram, so you want to put a video in there. It's very basic. And if you see that those audiences are not in the video section a lot, then you can do a carousel and single image. It's based on the knowledge you have about your audience and some testing in real world. If your catalog has a video, then yes. If your catalog doesn't have a video, then no. It's based on your catalog. So mostly it will do the pictures, to be honest, if you want me to be honest. Okay, then, so let me explain how we do the monitoring and like how do we analyze and go on with the performances. the first question that can come to our mind is my reach enough? Is my frequency enough? Then again, in Facebook ad marketing, like there is no definitive answer to anything. In reach, what we can generally say is that if imagine you have 100,000 people coming to your website per month. So in a month, you should be able to reach 100,000 people in all website visitors advertisement. If you end up reaching like 10,000, 15,000 people in a month, which is like 1/10, like 1/10, 1/8 of your whole audiences, that means your budget is not enough to reach the whole audience population you have. That means you need to increase your budget. On the other hand, if you see that, let's say you have only 10,000 people coming to your website per month, and with the budget you have, you are actually reaching all 10,000 people, but the frequency is like 20, 15, 10. That means with the budget you have, you are being able to reach the whole audience you have. And with the rest of the budget, Facebook will keep showing the ads to the same person over and over and over again because it has the money to spend. Facebook doesn't care if there is an audience or not. It just cares about the money and just does the frequency over and over again. So if you see a situation like that, our suggestion would be to reduce the budget. And for the frequency cap, at the moment, at the starting of the remarketing, we don't know if the person is going to be convinced at fourth frequency. Let's say you're showing me your t-shirt ad. I might get convinced after the fourth ad I see from your company, might be after fifth, might be after third, might be after fifth, sixth or seventh. So we don't know about the frequency of each and every person. So we don't want to cap it. That will just limit your ad to potential, let's say, customers. This is our view about the reach and frequency. When it comes to CPM, this is another metric you should really keep an eye about. And so it's about cost per 1,000 impression. Impression being how many times it's being showed, and Facebook charges you based on that. And if you see that CPM is increasing over time, which is about to happen as we get closer to the Black Friday season. The reason is there are a limited number of profile in Instagram or Facebook, let's say, that you are trying to reach, same as like other companies are trying to reach as well. So what happens is it kind of gets into a competition. Whoever has the highest bid, Facebook just prioritizes them at the first and then goes to the second highest bid. It's an auction basically. So if you see your CPM increasing over time, that means the competition is increasing. That is the moment you need to increase the budget to reach the same number of people you used to reach, but you will need a higher amount of budget. Can you go to the next slide? CTR. CTR is like click-through rate. What it means, like how many people actually clicked on the ad after being showed to them. There is no definitive percentage I can say that 3% is good, 1% is bad, 5% is good, 10% is bad. I cannot say anything like that. It's a very dynamic world. But what we can say is, if you see overall CTR decreasing over time, that means the people you're showing your ads to, they might get fed up with the content they're getting. So they might start to click less over time. That means you need to change your, let's say, ad creative to make them more engaged. And if in a long run, you see the click rate falling over and over again, that means you need to change your audience because that particular product and that particular content is not resonating with your audience. No matter how good you make it, how flashy you make it, how, let's say, animation you put into your videos, if the audience is wrong, it's not going to get you clicks and it's not going to sell your products. Just a second, Ahmad. Mirza, I hope I'm not pronouncing your name wrong. Does frequency correlate with price of products? No, that would be cost per result, because if your cost per result is higher than the price of product you're trying to sell, that means you're doing something really wrong because it's a loss at the moment. Is there a time frame for changing creative ad? Definitely no. There is no time frame for changing the creative ad. You need to see at least a couple of days. Let's say you start the campaign today. What will happen is Facebook will try to optimize it, try to show it to 1,000 people at a time, which is the CPM, and then it will decide how to move on from there, the algorithm itself. So if you want to change a creative, we suggest you do it at least after 4 or 5 days, so that you have a valid number to do the analysis. After just 1 day, it's not very effective because the sample size would be very low to do any kind of analysis. So 4 or 5 days. Okay, Ahmad, can you move on to the next slide?
This is the next slide.
CPC? Okay, sorry. Sorry. Okay, so CPC is cost per click. For remarketing, it's not something you must keep an eye on because it's more of a traffic thing. But if you see CPC like getting too high over time, that means you are spending a lot of money on the wrong people because they're not even clicking your ads. That means you need to change your target audience. That's what I can say about CPC at the moment. Conversions. So from the whole remarketing campaign, conversion is the most important KPI that should be everyone's most important KPI, to be honest. If you're trying to do a remarketing campaign and you don't have any conversions, that means you're doing something terribly wrong. Either you have to check the whole campaign setup. Is there an objective issue? Is there an attribution issue? Is there some other kind of issues? If you see that all the campaign settings and options are correct and you're still not getting any campaign conversions, that means either your ad creatives are terribly wrong, you need to change them, or you're reaching a completely irrelevant audience that is not interested in your product. So keep an eye on the number of conversions you have. Cost per conversion. We already talked about the cost per conversion. It was the cost per result, but then again, it's the on average, how much you're spending on like selling one product from your ads. So imagine you're showing 10 people the ad for $60 and one person ends up buying it worth of, let's say, 10. So your cost per result will be divided over these people. And then the most important KPI you should keep an eye about is if the cost per result is low, you're better off with selling at the moment, because if your cost per result is higher than the product you're selling, you will be doing a loss. So I cannot say $6 is good for you because I don't know the product price. Like everyone has a different kind of product with a different kind of price. So you should keep an eye on this particular KPI. For the conversion rate, so it's about the number of users who performed an action. In this case, in this webinar, we're talking about the e-commerce sales. So campaign sale would be the conversion and the total audiences of the ads. So if you see a very little conversion rate, by very little, let's say less than 1%, that means you are doing no additional benefit to your website. So generally, e-commerce website has around 1 to 2% conversion rate by default without any ads, and your ads don't perform just as much as your all website visitors. That means you should reconsider the setup, reconsider your audiences, reconsider your messages for the ads. This is this is the second most important KPI to keep an eye out, which is return on ad spending, ROAS. So one question might come up. Let's say I'm selling well in the campaigns. If I double my budget, will my return increase? Short answer is no, because as I said, if you start selling not one, not two, like 10 or 15 different products at single day, but at the same time, if you're spending too much on the ads, what happens is at the end of the day, you don't have any return on your investment. So if your ROAS is 1, that means you are spending $1 and getting $1 in return. If your ROAS is 10, that means you're spending $1 and earning $10 in return. So the higher the ROAS, the better. That's why blindly increasing the budget will never make you more revenue. It might sell more with relation to the lower budget scenarios, but it will never give you higher ROAS. So generally, if your ROAS is, let's say, below 2, you should start considering to do more optimization, try to see other options, what like other options you have. In short, the higher the ROAS, the better.
Okay, so you heard Tayib talking about monitoring and optimization, and of course, that sounds like a lot. I'm sure that this presentation you've seen like a lot of widgets, but there's a lot of challenges in reality to paid marketing. It's just the hard truth. The learning phase when you're using the paid ads just wastes some money. And of course, if you end up actually creating an ad on all of the settings that I've been mentioning and Tayeb has been mentioning, they're quite sensitive. So if you mess those up, you could end up actually wasting a lot of money due to the sensitive parameters and targeting an audience that's just simply not interested in buying your product. And simple, like finding the target audience that will resonate with your product actually ends up taking more money because it takes a longer time to do manually. So that's all for the challenges.
Sorry, Ahmad, I'm just answering one question in the chat. So let me just say it out loud then. So Norbert asked, if your product is for small audience only, for wellness, for example, would you narrow the audience down or would you let Facebook choose? The answer should be in two different scenarios. First, if you are trying to get more people to know your brand in the traffic, you should definitely widen your audiences. But for remarketing, you should always narrow it down because you don't want to reach the for example, I'm not going to buy a product from your website and Ahmad is going to buy a product from your website. You ideally would like to reach Ahmad with the ad you have than reach me, because you have lower chance with me than with Ahmad. So that's why for remarketing, we generally suggest go for the filtered audience, go for the like narrow audience, because even if you reach me with a wider range, let's say, if I don't buy it, with 5 impressions, you're losing 5 impression money. And you are showing it to Ahmad with 2 or 3 impressions, he's going to buy it. So you're kind of in a better position. So that's why we always try to narrow it down for the remarketing. So what are the AI ads? Ahmad already mentioned a little bit about it. So as like we haven't been able to cover the whole scenario of remarketing in Facebook because there are tons of other options we wanted to talk about, but then we figured out to like mention the most important aspects of the remarketing. So other smaller options, you can just do one Google search and understand what it does. Till now, even with the filtered options we chose, you can see how one parameter, one change in the budget, one change in the attribution, one change in the audience can do some greater change in the result, let's say. This requires a lot of knowledge to do the changes. This requires a little bit of time, for example. Let's say you want to change the caption of one picture. So it will take Facebook some time to review the caption and then process it and then make it live. These also takes time. These also takes money. These also requires a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. So one slight mistake can make like waste your budget. One slight, let's say, not mistake, a good improvement can do a much bigger improvement in your conversion and website sales. So it's very hard to tell. You will have to figure it out by yourself. But in that case, just a second, Ahmad, can you go back? In that case, what AI ads does is it kind of takes those optimization and option, let's say, crowdness from your hand, and it does the audience selection automatically. As we mentioned countless times, that audience selection is the most important one in the whole setup. If your audience is wrong, doesn't matter how good of a picture you have, it's going to, the money is going to go waste. And then the AI ads can do the first, like, it can do the monitoring and optimization by itself. You will start to see faster campaign insights and better results and faster results as well. So it's a broad concept that can be narrowed down into simple automatic AI optimization and AI audience selection. So till now, do you have any questions? Are you enjoying the webinar? Like, is the information we're trying to give is relevant to you? Okay, thanks. If you have any questions, we can answer them now, and then we can move on to the last part of the presentation. Yeah, we totally get you, Tanya. We have been there. Hard part is the creative, yeah. To be honest, the hardest part would be the audience selection. For creative, even if you spend a little bit longer time, you can actually come up with a great creative idea, let's say. But if you have the best creative and not a good audience selection, your campaign would again have some struggling points, let's say. Okay, so let me move on to this particular part. So what is Enhancer? So Enhancer is, okay, I'll answer your question now, but in a bit. Let me finish this slide. Enhancer is an AI tool that helps, let's say, e-commerce companies in Shopify and non-Shopify platforms as well to do the paid ad marketing in Facebook and Google Ads much more simpler. How much simpler? Since it uses AI technology, it will do the audience creation, audience targeting for you automatically. It will do the campaign optimization for you automatically. And in the end, what you get is like no headache for changing options, no headache for optimization. You can start to see higher revenue, you can say, conversion rate increasing over time and your ROAS increasing over time. Can you go to the next slide, Ahmad? So how does Enhancer boost your paid marketing, let's say? So we mentioned about a different kind of audiences earlier in the webinar. So we have all website visitors, we have product viewers, we have some bouncers from the website, we have add to carts. So all of these people leave, let's say, behavior behind. So they might click on a page, they might click on a review, they might come back after 5 days, they might scroll down for 30 seconds, let's say, a lot of different kind of behaviors. This technology, this AI technology, takes those behavior into account and tries to say, let's say Tayib is not going to buy a product from you, Ahmad is going to buy a product from you. And then it says, don't reach Tayib, reach Ahmad, and it's going to send Ahmad's, let's say, cookie ID and some identifier for Facebook to your Facebook ads. And then Enhencer will target, Enhencer AI ad will only target Ahmad with some creatives, and then you will kind of don't waste money on Tayib on me, and then like put the real money to Ahmad and kind of increase your conversions over time. So this AI actually does all these things automatically. That's where the manual headaches can be removed. And it does this for Facebook ads, for Google ads, for TikTok ads, basically any other ads as well. But we wanted to show the most like largest three in the industry for e-commerce. So this picture actually tries to understand, like try to explain these things. People coming in from all different behavior sets, and then some people are being converted to money, where I'm not being able to see myself. Go to the next slide. So another question we see a lot is why enhanced audiences are better. So in earlier, we mentioned about the differences between all visitors, product viewers, add to carts, and AI audiences. So AI audience takes into account a lot of different aspects of behavior, of human behavior into account. In other audiences, we already talked about it, like all website visitors, they just visit your website. We don't know anything about them. We know that product viewers only views a certain product, more than one product, let's say. We also don't know anything more about them. And all add to cart is a similar one property audiences. So they lack the dimension. It's just one dimensional audio. And when you come to Enhancer or AI audiences, you will see the AI is able to track more than 200 different properties of website visitors and come up with audience that is larger than, let's say, add to cart, smaller than product viewers for your remarketing ads. In that sense, it's kind of to the point. Let's say if you reach 100 people randomly, you would sell 5. And if you reach 100 selected AI audiences, you will probably sell 10 or 15, at least twice. I'm not saying 100 people will buy it out of 100 people, but the number of conversions will be higher, at least 2 times higher. And this AI audience, this Enhencer AI audience, also provides you with behavior. You can see on the segment 1, it's just an example that it breaks down people's behavior into different segments, and you can see, okay, this is the kind of behavior in my website that people do and then end up buying. This is the kind of behavior that doesn't lead to a purchase. It's not going to give you any monetary benefit, but kind of understanding over your audiences, let's say. And thirdly, these all audiences and segments are being sent to Facebook and different platforms automatically in real time. So you don't have to worry about how do I separate my audiences. It does this automatically. And the fourth option, like feature, is it does the tracking and like behavior tracking and analysis for both desktop, website itself, www. and the application, mobile application itself as well. We have a success story. Let's say case study, not success story. Success story sounds a lot like promotion. We have started to work with Lacoste for a long time, and what we can see is add to cart on the left is very small, like 5% of the whole website visitors, and Enhancer audience, AI audience, was 15% of their website visitors. So it's slightly higher than add to cart and smaller than product viewers. You can see the amount of spending it did for the, let's say, A/B test period. It's not for the whole campaign period. So add to cart spent around 2,000 audiences. Enhancer audience spent around 6,000. But although the spending was 3 times higher, the revenue was 5 times higher. in that case, the return on the ad spending was much higher than the add to cart. So this is what this is what convinced Lacoste to start working with Enhencer after the A/B test. And we have countless more of them, to be honest. You can go to our website and check it out. This was for, if I remember correctly, 1 month of testing period. Just 1 month of testing period. We cannot give you the real results from the real, let's say, collaboration, because we have an NDA. But in a nutshell, what it does is it gives you the best audience possible for all your campaigns, and then you can rest easy that these audiences are being targeted automatically by the AI ads itself. So most of these things are done automatically. So far, thank you all for coming. It was a good webinar.
Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. I'd love to see you in the next webinar for new user campaigns, and have a great day from my side.
Yeah.